I think I'm a special one.
What are we doing? What are we doing?
Welcome back, episode 21. Here to talk about a little national team, U23 national team. What's up, Andrew?
What's up, Chad?
We both got our US gear on.
Yeah, it's basically past my bedtime. You keep me up late to do this podcast.
It's only 9 o'clock.
Yeah. Well, I'm getting old, dude. I'm getting old.
At work.
So yeah, there's a reason we're both wearing national team gear. So explain what you're wearing real quick.
So I'm just wearing a pullover. What year do you think this was? 2000
13, 14, something like that?
I was gonna say like 2010.
No, it's not that old.
Oh, okay. Because
I have some gear from.
I think this was yours before it was mine.
Is it a long sleeve?
Yeah.
Nice, bro. Thanks for showing me. I wasn't convinced it was long sleeve, but I'm glad you showed me.
Is that your Altador jersey?
No, this is just blank. It's funny. There's just no name on the back. I feel like soccer jerseys sell the most blank jerseys out of like anybody. But yeah, this is, I don't know. I honestly think they might have been wearing the red in Trinidad when they didn't qualify. I'm not sure. I'll have to look that up. Or maybe so. I think they wore it in the Copa America in 2016. But yeah, US national team, all red kit, no name on the back. So like Chad said, episode 21. So we're going to add a few things to this episode, but of course, the U23s, the men's national team, whatever you want to call it, they don't qualify for the Olympics. Not the biggest deal in soccer, but still a big deal, and something that I think like we could have some good talking points about it. And even if you listen to this episode a month later, I still think there's like legit things that we'll talk about that you'll see as a pattern in what we talk about in soccer, in how national teams run their programs, that kind of stuff. But yeah, so I just want to give like a quick explanation because I've had a few people like my boy Kevin Collins hit me up and was asking like how the men's national team played a game against Northern Ireland today. And then the U23s don't qualify. Like, how could you have two games on the same day? It's not like a U10, youth tournament. You play 2 or 3 games on the same day. So basically, if you're listening to this podcast, you probably already know, but the Olympics in soccer is U23.
The men's, just for the men's.
Yeah, just for the men's. I should clarify. I think the women's might go to U23 as well at some point. But yeah, so you could bring 3 overage players. So like if they qualified, you could bring like Josie Altidore or Sebastian Lletget. You know what I mean? So you could bring whoever. Just everybody else, you can only have 3 of those. Everyone else has to be under 23. And especially with the qualifying games, in the summer, it's not too big of a problem. But in the qualifying games, the clubs aren't required to release the player because it's not a FIFA sanctioned event. So for World Cups, World Cup qualifying, that kind of stuff, the club has to release their players. So that's why like a lot of these players are MLS-based players that played today. So the U.S. the full men's national team had 2 friendlies in Europe. We'll talk about that maybe on another episode or whatever. But that was basically all European-based players because they're playing in Europe, and it was easy for them to get released from their clubs to go to that. So they played those in Europe. And that's where the men's national team can schedule games because it's hard to go to Africa, South America, like Asia, all those other places. The COVID restrictions are tougher, but if you're in Europe, it's easy to go to different places in Europe. Yeah. So almost all of these players were MLS-based players, and they held the Olympic qualifying in Mexico, in Guadalajara. And basically what happens is there's 2 different groups of 4. The top 2 from each group go to the semifinal. So there's 2 semifinals and a final. If you make the final, you're into the Olympics. So all you have to do is win the semifinal and you're in. And that's where the U.S. lost today. We lost to Honduras 2-1. Yeah. Did you watch a lot of these games?
So I watched a good amount, about half of the first two. So the first half of both the first two games. It's Costa Rica and then Dominican Republic. And then I watched the full game against Mexico. And then I didn't catch the Honduras game earlier today because usually what we do, I know you do it a lot, is we record the games. Like sometimes the games are at like weird times. Like there's stuff going on. So we'll just record them and watch them like in our spare time. I like watching games better that way anyway. Like a game that I really want to watch, I like to do. So,
dude, you know what I honestly like better is games on YouTube are so much better to watch because the game flows better and you could like rewind and fast forward like 5 seconds.
Yeah, it's easier.
But when we record them through Xfinity, like on the computer. So it's still convenient, but it's way more clunky. Like the feed isn't as good. It's a little more choppy.
Keep hitting back 10 seconds each time.
So when the fast forward button is 30 seconds and the rewind is 15. So sometimes I'll go forward, then backwards, but then I miss some of it. And like, I try to skim through. Like if I want to see a play again, I have to rewind, but then it has to load and it's not as clean as YouTube.
Right.
But yeah, that's what I'll do too. Like I missed literally the first 3 games. This was the first game I watched live. The other games I pretty much just like rewatched. I didn't watch much of the Mexico game yet, but I have them saved and I'm still going to watch them. Same with the full men's national team games against Jamaica and today against Northern Ireland. I'm going to save those for another time. But I get to watch them. It's just like sometimes the games that like
watch the full men's national team games yet?
No, not yet.
Wow.
I know. I'm kind of excited after this, and like I heard they were pretty good. But yeah, the first one was at like 1 p.m. on like a Thursday, and then the other one today I had something to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
where do you want to start? Where do you want to start?
So I think like people probably already know this, but we haven't qualified for the Olympics since 2008. I remember in 2012 we didn't qualify. And I remember a dude asking me, I was in high school, like, hey, why didn't we didn't qualify? I was like, it's just like our U23s. Like, I don't know if we really put much stock into it, but we did. At that point, I remember the player pool wasn't that good. Like, so we're Union fans, right? Amobio Kugo was on that team. Shannon Williams was on that team. Some good goalkeepers. I'm trying to think like who else was on that team. And like Amobio Kugo is one of my favorite players. Shannon Williams was like good for the Union, but like those guys didn't progress in their careers like we would have thought. Like you look at like a team like Mexico who won the 2012 gold medal at the Olympics. Those guys were all good young players that progressed to the next level at some point. Maybe not like to the highest level, but better than the level they were at. They used it as a platform to go up. Same with Maurice Adu and Stuart Holden. We're talking on the broadcast today. They both played in the 2008 Olympics. And Maurice was like, yeah, I probably don't go to Europe. I don't go to Rangers if I don't play in that Olympics. So like, that's a big deal. And, but if that team doesn't have the quality of like prospects that can go play at a higher level, you're probably not cut out for the Olympics.
Right. Now I feel like U.S. soccer, like it's weird right now because there's so many good young players and they're playing full national team.
Yeah.
So I know like Pulisic and Richards and a few other guys have said they're interested in playing in the Olympics.
Yeah.
But now there's no Olympics for them to play. But
yeah, and it's like if they wanted to play in qualifying, I don't know if they could have anyway. But part of that is on the agents and Brian McBride and Ernie Stewart. McBride is the general manager of the men's national team. Ernie Stewart is the GM of all of U.S. soccer. It's on them to get the players. Like if Pulisic wants to play, like, can we work it out with Chelsea to get him there? I mean, probably not, but
I feel like a Pulisic situation with Chelsea, Chelsea probably wouldn't allow him to go if he's saying, yeah, I'm going to the U23 Olympic qualifying.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
Going to international friendlies with the full national team.
Yeah, it's in Europe.
Part clubs not letting them leave, especially when there's so many players on big clubs.
Yeah, exactly. And I know like Tyler Adams like didn't even get released from RB Leipzig for the friendlies for the full national team. So like that's part of it too. But that's got to go into the planning. And if we're pushing these players to Europe, we should have a plan to get our best players, if they're in Europe, to get them playing for the Olympics. So the original plan for this was like we get on here, we're like, yeah, we qualified, like would like to beat Mexico in the final, but doesn't matter, we qualified. My question to you was going to be, what do you care about more? Would you rather try and build like a full national team kind of thing to compete in the Gold Cup? Or would you rather send those guys?
Gold Cup this summer?
Yeah, so there's Gold Cup this summer, and I think I got to look at the dates. It's basically parallel or like just after the Olympics. So I think it's like Gold Cup and the Olympics are similar times, and then right after the Gold Cup is some rounds of qualifying. So I was like kind of hesitant to say Olympics, but I wanted to know what you would like. What would you rather prioritize?
Well, it's cool that like these friendlies getting all the good players together playing, and then when Gold Cup comes around, they play, and then by the time the qualifiers come around, the team's rolling, like they're finally all playing together. Because I feel like the full national team, like with our main guys, really have not played that much together.
Yeah,
but like I don't like they obviously should make the Olympics though.
yeah.
Yes, but like even if they do make the Olympics, what's really to play for, you know?
Yeah. See, I was like, at first, I was like, I'd probably rather like see Pulisic and McKennie play with veterans who are probably going to be on the full national team anyway, like Leggett or like my boy Josie Altidore or something like that. You know what I mean? Or like a Tim Ream. But then I was thinking about it. I was like, Berhalter could strategically choose like who he wants to send to the Olympics. And then you could build a camaraderie between Pulisic, McKennie, Adams, like the guys who you think are the core pieces, Dest, and send them to the Olympics as like, here's a fake World Cup to go try and win, get some momentum, like play together. If it ends in a disaster, then it's pretty bad, you know? It's like it's on those players. But they realistically could win. A lot of players could showcase themselves. And like even though they're playing at big clubs, like some of the other guys, like maybe like a Josh Sargent or a Daryl DK or somebody like that could showcase themselves for even bigger moves.
Yeah, like those in between players.
Yeah, exactly. But then it's also, do you want them playing? So Jason Christ was the coach for the U23s. I'm pretty sure he was going to coach the U23s if they made the Olympics as well. So they're losing time with Berhalter. But I mean, would you rather them play together? I don't know. I'm sure Berhalter has a pretty big influence on the team.
Yeah, he definitely does.
So
but
I was leaning towards the Olympics.
Look like while watching them play, though.
What'd you say?
Watching the two teams play,
Mm-hmm.
like the full team and then the U23 team.
What about it?
Like, there's some similarities, but they just play like the U23 team plays so much slower.
We'll get to it. We'll get to. I have some notes on this. But yeah, I was hesitant at first. Like I was leaning more towards Gold Cup. Then I really thought about it. I was like, you know what? Like I think I'd want these guys to go play in the Olympics, like win something. Like we've won Gold Cups before. It'd be great to beat Mexico. But if we got in the Olympics and like, you know, medaled or got to the semis or something, like that'd be massive. And it's good international experience. Like they get to spend time with each other, but you know, that's out the window now. Gold Cup it is.
Yeah, I guess it's our only option now.
Yeah.
Do you think they took Epic qualifying too lightly?
I don't think they took it too lightly. Like this was a good team of like under 23 players from MLS. Like I like all of these players. Like
I feel like they have the pool to beat other CONCACAF U23 teams.
oh, definitely. And like we'll get to that in a sec. But I'm watching the game. Like so, let's just talk about what we've seen so far, right? Leading up to tonight's game against Honduras, this U23 team I thought didn't really look good in any of the games. They beat Costa Rica 1-0. And honestly, David Ochoa, the goalkeeper, had a really good game. They beat Dominican Republic 4-0? But all four of their goals came after like the 65th minute.
Yeah.
Then they lost to Mexico in a game where they were already through to the semifinals. They didn't really need to win. They rested some guys, whatever. And then they lose to Honduras 2-1. First, I'll get to David Ochoa. I'm going to pat myself on the back because I thought he was, other than the mistake tonight, I thought he was good in the tournament. Saved us against Costa Rica. Do you remember the national team draft we did?
Yeah, he was your goalie.
He was my goalkeeper. And like I was proven right up until today, where he basically just passed the ball to the other team and they scored a goal about a minute into the second half.
My goalie's starting for the full national team and making appearances for Man City. So.
Making appearances, that's a stretch. But you also picked a goalie first. My right back is killing it, and he scored a rip for the national team at left back. Yeah, right? I had Des, didn't I? I also had Chris Gloucester, but I should have took Sam Vines.
Yeah, Chris Gloucester.
Yeah, who just signed with New York City FC, by the way. So when he balls out in MLS, I'll be proven right.
Yeah.
Yeah, like what'd you think of like the team selection? Like go through some players that you liked, didn't like, what you saw.
I like Jackson Ewell a lot. I think he's solid. Like he's definitely a guy Berhalter will call in on the full team too. I think.
He should be, dude. Like
he's older.
Mm-hmm. He's like 23. He's under 23.
Oh, I thought they said he was 24, but he could play in the Olympics because they took it away from last year.
Yeah, that's true. If you were under 23, like if you met the age requirements by the time it should have been last year, then you could play. So yeah. He's a guy that people point at when like Euro snobs are like, oh, he plays in MLS, you can't have him. But like I watch him and I like him. Now there's a specific role for him though. I found that Kreis, like the style was, like you said, it was so slow. It was so methodical. Ewell sometimes, like they play him with other defensive midfielders as if we're going to be defending the whole time. Dude, he can't be your guy further up the field in between the lines. He's got to be your guy, like sweeping in front of the back four, picking up the balls, like organizing guys. You can't have Perea next to him. And the one game I watched, Dominican Republic, who's much better than you'd think, by the way. They played Ewell, Perea, and Johnny. You know Johnny?
Yeah.
Johnny, I think his last name is Cardoso. They call him Johnny Soccer. He's
he's plays in the Brazil league, right?
Yeah, people like when he was first coming onto the scene, were like talking about him getting called up to the full national team. Is like he's good, he's technical. I think he has a cap, but he's okay. But that's three defensive midfielders. Like those are three guys I would put as my number 6 position. And then you play them all together. Johnny looked all out of sorts because he's trying to receive a ball with his back to goal, like close to the winger, like, you know.
Yeah, and Pereira, I don't really know who he is. Who does he play for? Orlando,
yeah. He got a cap in January or February.
I don't see anything from him. I feel like he's away too much. I feel like he's not like dynamic at all.
I don't mind him. Like, so if I'm choosing the team, I wouldn't put him in my team. But I watch him, I'm like, that guy could play. He covers ground. He's pretty athletic. Like you could see him getting stuck in tackles and stuff. And like, honestly, he gets the ball and like he can move it a little bit. He's not afraid to like put his foot on the ball and dribble. But like, you don't need him next to Jackson Ewell. You don't need him next to Johnny. You don't need him. He started today, and it's like, for what? It's so redundant. It's like, that's how you want your team to play? Like, it's just boring.
I'm a Hassani Dotson fan in MLS, though.
Yeah, Dotson was good, I thought. He seems more like he's a center mid. Is that what he plays for Minnesota?
Yeah, or I don't know. He might play out on like right mid too, because he can kind of drive the ball.
Yeah. So today he started as a right winger. We started Ewell, Perea, and Mihailovic. Mihailovic was more of like a 10.
Okay.
But Dotson would come inside a little bit. So we didn't really have a whole lot of width there until Aaron Herrera got up the field. So like everything's just so clogged up because you have basically 4 center mids. It just, I don't know. It wasn't like how I would select the team. You had Jonathan Lewis, who plays for Colorado. He was playing left wing, but he would kind of tuck inside next to the forward. So at times you'd have Jesus Ferreira, who I really like on FC Dallas. He would come back. Like he's naturally like a withdrawn striker kind of thing. And then like you'd have like 5 dudes just chilling in the middle of the field.
If Ferreira doesn't get the ball for like a certain amount of time, he'll check like really far back.
Yeah. So now we're kind of getting into the tactics today. They brought on Sebastian Soto in the second half, and they moved Ferreira as a center mid, and they took off Mihailovic, I think. And it looked better because so one of the problems I thought today, which I've seen in the other games too, is if you have Yule as the sixth, the defensive mid, then you're relying on Perea and Johnny or Mihailovic to like be those guys in between lines, like receiving the ball, maybe with their back to goal or on the half turn. And they're the ones that are supposed to play those killer through balls or turn and take some space and dribble a little bit. Like the Brendan Aronson role, what Brendan Aronson is fantastic at. This game was begging for Brandon Aronson. He obviously is in Europe, so he didn't get called in. But like you have Mihailovic is more like a 10, but I just don't think he's that good.
You know, I've never really liked him.
Yeah.
That was more of a joke when I would say it, but
like he's okay. Like I don't hate him, and like I'm not opposed to him getting called up ever again. I just don't think he was right for this team.
Who started at the Okay, I'm looking at the lineup right now. It doesn't look like Mauricio Pineda started today.
No, it was Kessler and Glad.
How Kessler looked, because Pineda, like the games I've seen him play, I'll be honest, he was the worst player on the field.
He did a couple decent things when I watched. Kessler was okay. Like I like Kessler, but there's he fouled the guy that led to their first goal like a minute before halftime. He like stepped too aggressively. The guy turned him and he brought him down, got a yellow, and then they scored from the free kick that was like headed around. So like I think he needed to just slow up a little bit, and he was too eager to win the ball. But I like him. I like Justin Glad too. Like they're not perfect, but like they're good enough.
Yeah.
I like Julian Araujo at right back better than Aaron Herrera, but like I'm totally fine with either of those guys.
And Sam Vines is a beast.
I love Sam Vines. Like he's good. But yeah, the way we play, it was like we required the wingbacks to get so far forward. It was like, I don't know, maybe Christ wanted one of the defensive midfielders to drop in, basically create like a 3 in the back in like while we're building up, the wingbacks to get really high, Vines and Herrera. And then you have Lewis, the left winger, tucking in next to Ferreira, the center forward, Dotson coming inside to create overloads. But like that just, it's basically like playing 3 in the back. And you know how I feel about that. It has limitations.
I hear you.
So like there were times in the game where it's just getting sucked in and sucked in. Like there was a time Lewis, he's on the left and he checks inside right next to whoever it was, Yule. And I don't know if he thought he could play like a 1-2 with Vines, but like it just wasn't there. And like then you draw a defender to the middle. You don't stretch the field enough. Like that's, I don't know. It's just it's not how I would play.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I didn't watch the game today, so I don't really know what it was like. But games I watched, I just felt like they had most of the ball. I mean, against Mexico, I thought it was pretty even possession-wise. But when they did have the ball, it was just so slow. Like like they take a touch and then they look up, see where they gotta play. But really, it should just be like moving the ball quick. Like if I'm the other team, the last thing I want to do is just keep running from side to side to side.
Yeah.
Didn't do that enough. So
and honestly, I don't know if they're trying to be like, maybe Berhalter had too big of an influence on this. Like it seems like our worst spells of the national team is like when we have the ball too long and we're playing possession, but it's not good possession. You know, we've all been on teams where like we're keeping the ball, but it's so frustrating because we can't move it forward. The other teams know exactly how to stay organized. You don't get it anywhere. So like that's what I thought we were doing today. It was just like go from Glad to Kessler, out to Vines and back and into Yule and back. And like I'm not one of those guys who's going to kill a defensive midfielder or a center midfielder for passing it backwards and sideways because sometimes it's not on. I think part of it is the instruction that the coach or the system allows. But like there was nothing stretching the field. Like I just look at like Lewis and Dotson or whoever the wingers are, and it's like if those guys aren't threats on the wing, it's like, what are we doing? You know what I mean? If you don't have to defend them out there.
Yeah.
Um,
When they're all in the middle, you just need like people out wide to find space. And then
yeah. So I thought we looked better when, like I said, we brought on Sebastian Soto. He played up top. Ferreira drops into center midfield role, and he's naturally more of an attacking player. So if you're not playing these clunky defensive mids next to each other, you're playing an attacking player. He can find space between the lines. Like I said, half turn, drive at somebody, maybe get the ball wide, make a run into the box instead of like she's like clunky dudes trying to play a way that they're not used to. And I think it was just like the worst of this Olympic team and the worst of Berhalter's national team. Like they showed it was slow possession. It was like, it's almost like they're trying to out tactic you, but like the tactics really aren't there or they're not working. And like, it's just like useless possession.
Now, when they moved Ferreira back to attacking mid, did the team look better?
Oh yeah, definitely. Cause he got more involved. He came back and got the ball a little bit more with like some urgency.
Yeah.
And they also brought on Salcedo, who like I had never really heard much of before, but he plays like more as like an out and out winger.
He wore number 10.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's got to be good.
He started against Dominican Republic, I think.
Yeah. And then Lewis stayed more wide. So it was almost like that created the width that we needed. So I'm thinking it was more of a tactical change than just move Ferreira back. I think it was like an actual like spread the field a little bit. That also, in addition to the fact that we gave up a goal right before half, give up a goal right after half. So we're down 2-0 and we finally had some urgency. But like when we started playing with urgency, and I get Honduras is probably tired, they're sitting behind the ball, but you could see the quality of the team. It's not like the players are like, oh, we're not producing any players, these players suck or whatever. No, like they're pinging the ball, they're getting it out of tight spaces and switching it. There's just like something lacking. And we need to play like that more often. If people want to say we didn't qualify because our players suck. No, it's not the reason we didn't qualify for the World Cup. It's not the reason why we didn't qualify for the Olympics. We don't play with enough urgency. So like useless possession or like you just got to come out firing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Maybe players are too focused on tactics. I know some coaches, even like professional coaches, feel like they put too many tactics on the team.
Yeah, I agree. I think the best tacticians are really the ones that make it a philosophy of the team that it's almost like second nature. Like I think I played my best soccer like when I was with like, let's say the Philadelphia Fury, for example. Like I played my best soccer when I knew we did a few patterns. We knew like when to make runs and stuff. And I was like, that was when I played my best because I knew when to go. I knew where someone else was going to be. I didn't have to think about it. But if you start like really tinkering, that's what you get with like Jose Mourinho. Like his teams don't look fluid at all. They're like, his teams suck, you know?
They suck?
Yeah, they suck. Like Mourinho hasn't been good in like 10 years. So like that's like the downfall of out tacticing, being too tactical for your own good, I guess I would say.
I agree.
So yeah, it's like you don't look at like there's people that say the US players aren't good enough or we're not producing players or they're playing in MLS and they're not good enough. But like think about it. We lost to Trinidad and Tobago. We lost to Honduras today. We lost to Costa Rica at home. Our players, man for man, are better than those players. But on the day, they might not be. But we just don't play with enough urgency. Like it's that. You can't just come out and think you're going to walk through the game. Like you got to be able to put the other team on their back foot. You can't just say, I'm going to keep the ball and relax a little bit and knock it around. No, that's why you have like when you play too many I call them destroyers, right? Too many defensive midfielders, too many deep lying playmakers. You don't get the other team worried about your attack. You know, we could round up 9 other guys. I could coach, we're sitting in our 2 banks of 4 and we could defend for 90 minutes and like probably be okay against some teams. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But like it takes a real team to like be able to break those teams down. And like we don't need that many destroyers. We need players that are going to play if that's how we're going to do it.
Definitely. Good point.
Like it's just ridiculous that you would think you just play. Like I'm thinking of the example, Johnny, Perea, and Yule. Like they're all kind of deep lying defensive mid playmakers. They're not all just going to sit back there, get the ball, play a 20-yard like split pass, breaking a line every time they get the ball. It's just stupid. So you don't have the necessary skills on the field to break down a team.
I get you're trying to look at new players here and there, but when you're playing players that are similar in position and putting them together, it's kind of like they're taking each other's space. Like,
yeah, they all the time. There was one time, I think it was in the Dominican game. Perea gets the ball and Yule like comes across as like a typical defensive mid move where they just get the ball off like a center back or something. So he comes to get the ball, but he doesn't get the ball. So he just keeps running, but he runs like 5 feet in front of him. It's like, what a weird play.
It's funny. So Yule scored today?
Oh, snap. Something happened.
Yeah. Might be there.
Yeah, Yule, it was a good goal and like very Pulisic against Trinidad and Tobago vibes. Like, hey, we're down 2-0. I'm getting the boys rolling here. Like, Yule was the captain. Dude, Yule's good, man. Yule's good.
Yeah, he's a leader of men.
Yeah, you bet.
U23 man.
of like professional, but like pretty young men. You know what I mean?
Gotcha.
Like they're not old, but they're pretty young.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. That's kind of like what I had on this game and what I thought. Yeah. All right. Here's one thing. Do you have anything else on the game? This is like my last point.
I might go back and rewatch it though. Did you record it?
Yes, I did.
All right. Maybe I'll watch like the beginning part up until you goal.
But now it's like you read the Spark Notes before reading the book, and now you know what's happened.
Exactly.
Now you know what to look for. Which is honestly like not a bad way to learn soccer. Like, let's say I don't watch a whole lot of a player and I see someone on Twitter or I read a scouting report and I look at like maybe they point something out, then it's easier for me to see it. So it's a good way to learn.
I mean, that's what I did. I just record the games and then watch them. But like before I watch them, I'll be scrolling on Twitter and see what people say about certain players in the team.
Maybe listen to a podcast before. Yeah. So like I talk about this every podcast, but it's so obvious. I texted Jake Heaton, the coach of the prep, head coach, because I just like I needed to tell somebody. Like the players today, they couldn't dribble. Every soccer game, right? If you have a guy that's willing to take somebody on and beat him on the dribble, I don't care if it's U9, U10, high school, college, professional. If you could take on a guy, beat him on the dribble, every game is won and lost with like creative players, right? Oh no, you froze. You still there, bro?
Oh yeah. Unmute.
Yeah, dude, you there?
Yeah, can you see me?
Did I leave or what happened there?
You froze.
Oh no, you froze.
I don't know.
Right, hopefully we didn't lose that whole thing. It still says we're recording, right?
Yeah.
All right, so hopefully it keeps everything. I mean, dang, we had a good one going. I don't think we should be able to keep it. Hopefully it saved it.
How long does it say it's been recording for?
Oh, where does it say?
I don't know. I didn't know if it said it.
No, it doesn't say anywhere. I have to end it, I think. All right, so we'll just bang this out real quick, and then hopefully, if I have to piece them together.
If you want to end it, see.
Nah, because then I'd really have to piece them together.
All right.
Let's just go through it. So what I was saying was every game, no matter what age group, right? U9, high school, college, professional, it's won and lost if a guy can take somebody on and create like a little little moment where he dribbles by somebody or gets creative or does something, unlocks a defense. Right or wrong?
Right.
Right? If a college team has a tricky winger or an attacking midfielder or a forward who makes a couple dribbles, if my U9 boys team has a guy who could dribble through a couple guys, he's going to score goals every time. And like, it's so obvious when a team doesn't have that. You can't have a team that doesn't have it. It's like you can play all the possession you want, but when it gets down to it, Man City, Mahrez is going to dribble by somebody. Sterling's going to dribble by somebody. De Bruyne is going to make a smart dribble and a smart through ball. Like you have to have that ability. John Stones has to get by somebody with a dribble.
You can't pass and pass and pass, and you can't like just cross and put balls in the box. Eventually, someone's gonna have to take someone on to create space.
It's almost like people, they think they're, I don't want to say like they think they're smart, but they know possession soccer is like a good style to play, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm a huge advocate for it, whatever. But like there's prerequisites to playing possession soccer. You got to be able to dribble. If all you do is pass with no creativity, if all you do is make like the perfect soccer play, then like you're never going to get anywhere. It's almost like that. You remember the Nike advertisement before the 2014 World Cup?
Which one?
It was like there was like they were like building robots or something to play the perfect football.
Yeah.
And like the team of like creative players like Neymar and stuff beat them because the other team was playing perfect football and they were playing free and loose and stuff, which I think is kind of true because like in the first half, we don't have anybody dribbling at each other. Dotson's tucking inside. He's not staying wide and dribbling at somebody. Lewis is afraid to get the ball. He's not peeling wide and dribbling at somebody, and he can. And he did that a little bit more in the second half, which is why I thought we looked better. So, like, I feel like on every team, you need someone to do that. And I told you, I texted Jay Keaton. He's the head coach at St. Augustine. And I told him that. He was like, yeah, totally agree. Like, he said, like, he knew a couple guys in England who, like, they would be good coaches, but one of the problems is they didn't have any creative players, which I think is a huge thing. And you see it here too, is like even good coaches here in the US, they'll create like these really good passing teams they can play out of the back, but like they don't have the intuition to dribble by somebody or like at least try it, then like you're stuck just doing nothing. You know what I mean?
Exactly. That's like you can't really teach creativity.
Yeah, I think you could get it out of somebody.
Mm-hmm.
You can't say like do all of these drills and get really creative, but you could put it into somebody by doing certain activities, playing more. That's why like on my teams, like I never yell at somebody for dribbling. Like it's always like, can we beat somebody on the dribble? Then look to a pass later, because especially at 9, like that's the time you learn. So I know my 9-year-old team is pretty far away from the Olympic qualifying and whatever, but I think.
You sure they're that far away?
Nah, they're pretty close, man. I think I got a guys vying for a call up next cycle.
I mean, both your team and the U23 team didn't qualify for the Olympics.
Yeah, yeah. It's the meme of like the two dudes shaking hands and
yeah,
like a Venn diagram. But yeah, like so without getting too far away, I love Sam Hinkie, the old general manager of the Sixers. And he used to say, like, you don't get to the moon by climbing a tree. So like it might suck, it might look weird, but like if you teach these players to be able to dribble past somebody, be confident on the ball, like win games by going at defenders, then by the time they're older and they're comfortable in that skill, then it makes it so much easier to be able to keep possession, pass it, and then you have that prerequisite down. It's like you don't learn to, I don't know, you don't learn like algebra before you learn your times tables. Like it's the same thing.
Yeah.
So it's just another example, and you see it with
tell me this all the time. I said you tell me this all the time.
Yeah, because it's becoming more and more evident to me when I watch teams that can't do anything. Like I was telling you, or I was telling somebody, I went and watched a bunch of me and some other coaches went and watched a bunch of like youth soccer tournaments the other weekend. And like, high school age kids, a little bit younger too. And like, it's just first of all, the passing's not great. The game is not great. But now one of those guys is looking to dribble by somebody or stay on the ball. It's so ugly. And like, to me, it's like, I'd rather the ball come to somebody. They take a touch, they settle it, they try and beat the defender and they lose it. Then the guy kicks it up the field or the guy tries like a one-touch pass because he's afraid to have the ball.
Yeah.
And you see that in the national team too. And maybe it gets better in time because, U.S. soccer is preaching like to play more often than, and maybe the coaches are smarter and we see the problems. But like a guy like Pulisic, like you could play possession style. Pulisic can pass a ball. Pulisic can keep possession, but he's key because he can unlock a game. You saw it in World Cup qualifying in 2017. Like we won those games. We weren't like out possessing these teams to death or whatever. Pulisic had a few key moments where he dribbled by somebody to play a quick like 1-2 without the door and get by somebody. That stuff is like a skill that sticks.
Definitely.
So
I mean, you're not gonna. I think of it as like you're not gonna play pretty soccer and then the game-winning goal be like all 10 players on the field touch it and the final one's just a 1-2 cross, dude finishes it back post or something.
yeah. And then if you don't preach that possession style, that dribbling style all the time, then the players don't do it. If all you're worried about in practice is like these little tactics, like I think Kreis and Berhalter are doing, then it just gets, that's all you're going to do. You're just worried about building out. And like, if you ever watch a team where like you think they focus too much on building out, like there's plenty of times in like MLS or something, they talk about this team like, oh, here's their build out phase or like their, how they start from goal kicks. But it's like, okay, that's one part of the game. When do you ever really see teams build out and then go to goal?
Mm-hmm.
It's dribbling and goal scoring. That's what you need. And like, I would assume we have good enough coaches everywhere to be able to teach some sort of good build up, good possession style, and everything else comes after that.
Good points.
That's all I have. So hopefully that stayed. The Zoom got it all.
Yeah. Well, it stayed with me as I'm gonna watch the game tomorrow.
Nice. Yeah, just watch Dotson tuck inside. Watch Lewis, like he doesn't want the ball at his feet to go at somebody. It's frustrating.
Right.
Oh, yeah. Anything else on this game?
Nah, I mean, I'm good. I mean, I didn't watch it, so.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Yeah, so I figured like we had some other topics we could talk about. Like I was thinking,
Gotta watch the full national team games then.
yeah, I'm going to. Maybe we review those next episode. And then I have some other topics. Maybe we go back through like maybe I don't know. I had an idea. We talk about things that we maybe like lessons learned from our career so far. So like from playing, from coaching, from individual training, like what we thought then and like what we've learned to think is the truth now.
Uh-huh.
And things that what we think is the truth now that we don't think is the truth later on too.
And those opinions might change.
Yeah, exactly. So
now.
it's like, I know I sound pretty definitive in some of my takes and like you do too every once in a while, but like we can go back in a year and listen to this episode and be like, wow, we sound dumb.
It would be pretty cool if we did another US draft. I feel like the teams would be a lot different.
Yeah, because we actually have like a player pool too. Because at the time it was in the summer.
Like I wouldn't pick Paul Arriola right back. I mean, right mid.
I don't know. I kind of like Paul Arriola, but yeah, I wouldn't pick him.
There's more options than Paul Arriola.
Darlington Nagbe would still decline a call up from your team.
Did I pick him?
Yeah, you picked him. You picked him early too.
Yeah, he would definitely decline.
As long as I get Josie, I'm good. All right. We have anything else you want to end this?
I'm good to go.
All right, dude. I'll stop recording now. All right, that's episode 21. Peace.